A sudden ripple of uncertainty now surrounds Buckingham Palace, as insiders confirm that King Charles III's sealed succession memorandum, drafted during intensive cancer treatment, is being updated for a third and possibly final time. The quiet revision, authorized in a red tag meeting with the Lord Chancellor last Thursday, has sharpened speculation that the monarch intends to accelerate preparations for an eventual transfer of ceremonial weight to the Prince and Princess of Wales. The intrigue matters because the timing of any adjustment will reverberate through government, Commonwealth capitals, and financial markets that rely on stable constitutional signaling. According to data compiled by the Institute for Government, each percentage point swing in public confidence can translate into £40 million in heritage revenue and charitable intake in a typical fiscal year. With younger approval hovering near 50%, courtiers are deploying transparency, symbolism, and contingency planning in equal measure to preserve momentum. The present scenario began in January last year, when the King underwent surgery for benign prostate enlargement. Subsequent pathology revealed an unrelated early-stage cancer, forcing the palace to announce regular outpatient therapy and a partial retreat from crowds. By April, the sovereign was crafting handwritten letters to cancer charities, acknowledging the fear of sudden vulnerability, after decades, as an apparently invulnerable public figure. In May, he spoke unguardedly with a 22-year-old patient at a Buckingham Palace garden party, admitting to taste changes and fatigue while insisting optimism remained intact. That single exchange, captured by onlookers, generated 8 million digital views in 48 hours, and marked the start of a new, more open rapport between Crown and nation. Behind that public candor, legal teams activated a rarely used fast-track process to ensure all succession paperwork mirrored the King's wishes, should medical conditions shift. The sealed memorandum, lodged with the Privy Council office, first surfaced in October amid rumors of detailed instructions regarding Catherine's future standing. Two senior sources now indicate the document goes further, outlining provisional counsel for the Prince of Wales on regency thresholds, potential councillor expansions, and the management of duchy revenues during any interregnum. Contingency briefings intensified in March when clinicians upgraded the King's therapy from monthly to bi-weekly infusions. Although doctors stress treatment remains prophylactic, the palace quietly shortened intended overseas tours, assigning the Princess Royal to represent the sovereign in Canada, and the Duchess of Edinburgh to front a Commonwealth Literacy Summit in Jamaica. Queen Camilla's workload also shifted. She increased solo engagements by 12%, including a landmark speech at the Dyson Cancer Centre in Bath, where she reported her husband was doing extremely well, but sensibly pacing his diary. Camera crews noted subtle protective choreography. Camilla hovered half a step behind during walkabouts, ready to intercept well-wishers if crowds compress. Meanwhile, the Prince and Princess of Wales have stepped into a dual apprenticeship unlike any witnessed since the late 1940s, when a young Princess Elizabeth shadowed George VI. William now joins the Prime Minister's weekly audience 6 times per quarter rather than the customary 2. Catherine sits in on Privy Council document reviews concerning royal warrants and honorary military appointments, a role historically reserved for heirs apparent. Advisers describe the approach as shadow sovereign training and insist it does not imply imminent regency. Yet historians note that similar accelerations preceded the formal appointment of the Prince Regent in 1811, and the delegation arrangements struck for George VI's declining health in 1951. Public reaction to accelerated visibility is broadly favorable. Cervantes May Tracker registers a 4-point rise in approval for younger royals since January, but veteran analysts caution that goodwill can reverse if transparency stalls or appears choreographed. Republic campaigners have already demanded full publication of medical expenses, arguing that personal candor should extend to cost clarity. The Cabinet Office maintains that existing sovereign grant disclosures meet statutory standards. Financial observers watch equally closely. Brand Finance estimates the monarchy's contribution to the UK's soft power halo effect at £1.8 billion per annum. 35% of that total is tied to the King's personal projects, including the King's Foundation and high-profile climate diplomacy. Should treatment reduce his public time still further, those initiatives must retain momentum under delegated leadership or risk donor retreat. That reality frames Princess Eugenie's nomination as principal mentor for the Foundation's 35 under 35 Changemakers list. In her first 12 days in post, the charity recorded a 17% jump in website traffic and secured pledges totaling £450,000. The appointment provides not only headline freshness, but a functional buffer, another royal voice able to sustain narrative if the King's presence fluctuates. Elsewhere within the family, Princess Anne remains the monarchy's keystone. Her engagement count exceeded 320 last year, despite a riding accident that hospitalized her for 48 hours. She chaired investitures during the King's clinic visits and quietly hosted a reunion between Charles and the Duke of Sussex at Sandringham, ensuring no photographs leaked to fuel tabloid drama. That reconciliation, brief and fragile, still plays into succession calculus. Regency Acts list the Duke of Sussex among councillors of state. Any attempt to modify that roster would require parliamentary legislation, or a further amendment to letters patent, moves considered only in extremis, but which illustrate the legal intricacies driving this spike in draft paper activity. Under current law, regency occurs only if the sovereign is deemed incapable by two physicians, and so certified to the Privy Council. Palace sources insist no such threshold is in view, yet lawyers confirm that draft wording exists for a swift councillor role extension to the Princess of Wales in the event Catherine becomes Queen Consort sooner than expected. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak received a private briefing on those outlines in April, according to a senior official familiar with Cabinet Office liaison. Downing Street would not comment, citing protocol, but Whitehall planners have modelled ceremony scenarios whereby William gives the King's speech on behalf of his father should health constraints coincide with the next parliamentary opening. Beyond Westminster, Commonwealth leaders display keen interest. Aides to Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese say Canberra will observe upcoming trooping revisions closely, interpreting royal health and participation as indicators for future tours. Canada's Governor-General Mary Simon has already scheduled a courtesy call with the Prince of Wales during his forthcoming Vancouver Climate Conference stop. Foreign chancelleries monitor output too. If medical advice prevents the King from attending the Samoa Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, officials will trial a holographic address broadcast simultaneously in Apia and London's Westminster Hall. Testing such technology on a royal scale was once theoretical. Within the current climate, it may define the new normal of monarchy-led soft power. The emotional heart of the issue lies in Charles's newly frank reflections. His statements describe the moment of diagnosis as stepping through an unseen door into a community no person chooses yet millions share. Charities credit that language with destigmatizing late-stage consultations. Macmillan logged a 12% spike in under 40 call volume within a week. Yet disclosure carries risk. An unanticipated complication would trigger immediate global headlines, intensifying speculation already stoked by the sealed memorandum. Courtiers therefore balance authenticity against overexposure. Palace press offices schedule periodic health bulletins while refraining from clinical minutiae, careful to avoid the missteps seen during Queen Victoria's final months, when contradictory leaks eroded public trust. Preparations for trooping the colour encapsulate uncertainty. Physicians have cleared the King to attend, but recommended halving parade duration and shortening carriage routes to reduce fatigue. Contingency scripts call for the Prince of Wales to ride in the sovereign's stirrup cup position if needed, a sight not witnessed since Princess Elizabeth stood in for her father in 1951. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace balcony protocol has been redrafted to ensure Princess Catherine stands directly beside the king for the flypast, visually reinforcing succession intent. Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis are scheduled to appear, but will be ushered indoors after 7 minutes to limit exposure. The wider public will read each placement, each carriage pace, each handshake duration as code about resilience and readiness. Royal communications advisors acknowledge the symbolic weight. Every image captured becomes data for sentiment trackers that feed back into engagement strategy. After trooping attention shifts to the state opening of Parliament. If health parameters hold, the King will deliver the traditional speech in the Lord's Chamber. If not, a throne room broadcast will occur, deploying ceremonial backdrop, but sparing the sovereign the long corridors of the Palace of Westminster. In that scenario, William would accompany the Lord Chancellor to deliver the speech parchment for royal assent, marking a constitutional first in modern memory. Financial Oversight Committee's plan to question Keeper of the Privy Purse, Sir Michael Stevens, on cost implications of medical travel and enhanced security. The National Audit Office wants assurance that rapid rerouting of engagements does not inflate the sovereign grant beyond inflationary limits. Treasury officials argue that global soft power returns outweigh short-term cost spikes, pointing to tourism data and diplomatic trade wins following high-profile royal interventions. Charitable chiefs are less concerned with ceremony and more with operational impact. Cancer Research UK and Macmillan together recorded an additional £9.8 million in fundraising during the King's first treatment phase. Maintaining that momentum requires consistent royal advocacy. Any prolonged invisibility could reverse gains. The sealed memorandum's next iteration now undergoes legal vetting. Once countersigned, it will reside in a temperature-controlled safe adjacent to the crown jewels until activated by circumstance. Only the monarch, the Lord Chancellor, and the private secretary hold code access to the cabinet. Not even the Prince of Wales can consult its contents without formal summons. Parliament would see the text only upon accession or certified incapacity. Its provisions are therefore a silent companion to every public engagement the King undertakes. Observers note that the monarch's willingness to refine such a document in real time signals both realism and a determination to manage transition on his own terms. For the general public, suspense now coalesces around upcoming balcony scenes and the medical bulletin due immediately afterward. Should physicians report stabilized markers and the King deliver trooping salutes unaided, speculation may cool. Conversely, any sign of reduced stamina will propel interest in the councillor framework and in Catherine's emergence as near co-equal public figure. The palace continues to emphasize reassurance. Aides reference the monarch's steady involvement in weekly government briefings, his remote participation in Commonwealth investment calls, and his handwritten margin notes on red box legislation. They insist the sovereign sees his illness not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to modernize the monarchy's relationship with the nation through shared vulnerability. Viewers tracking each chapter of this evolving narrative should watch for subtle indicators, whether William's foreign travel includes joint engagements with Catherine, whether Princess Anne's workload increases again, whether the Duchess of Edinburgh is drafted into additional Commonwealth roles. Every adjustment contributes another puzzle piece to the broader picture of how the Crown will navigate continuity in an era of visible royal health challenges. Our next broadcast will analyze rehearsal footage from Horse Guards Parade, provide expert commentary on constitutional options, and examine how the sealed memorandum might shape the royal family's appearance schedule for the remainder of the year.